Room, and I was the person who led the development in the first place, and I was in effect the acting director before it even came to birth. What does it mean to me? Well, it brings together quite a number of my interests. It built on other things I had previously done, and it's very nice to see how the IPR has developed. It's rather like seeing one of your own children going out into the world and making a name for itself. Well, clearly there's a certain, what shall I say, a certain exhilaration in being allowed and encouraged to take forward a new development like this. I used to try and surfboard, and I always fell off before I could really get properly standing up. But, you know, I imagine when you're surfing and the wave takes you, there's a certain exhilaration. And I suppose there's a sort of parallel with that. I feel that there were some very good relationships of collaboration and even comradeship that I discovered through the IPR, not only with other academic colleagues, but with the support staff who came in and proved to be of a very high calibre. I would say those two things I can remember with the greatest pleasure. What do I feel about the 10th anniversary of the IPR? I'm pleased. It has prospered. It has changed in many important ways and positive ways since I stood down. Of course, after I stood down in January 2014, Hugh Laura then became the acting director, and after him, of course, came Nick Pierce. It seems to me that the Institute has really developed very strongly since then, and to use my earlier metaphor, when you see your child growing up and going out into the world and prospering, it obviously gives you a certain amount of pleasure.
I'm Hugh Laura, and I was director of the IPR between the 1st of January 2014 and the 1st of January 2016. It means many things. I think that it represents a whole series of very positive attributes for the University of Bath. So it's outward looking with respect to policymakers and policy making. It provides research on policy. It is inward looking in the sense that it provides support for those with an interest in policy across the university. And it provides research which is of help to the university and support to the university as much as it is for policymakers in the outside world. A number of things that I think are kind of part of the process. Part of that process involved getting a broad acceptability for the Institute within this university, providing some further outreach. It was already being done, but further outreach in terms of the policymaking community in this country and overseas. I think the development of the policy doctorate was, well, the Vice-Chancellor at the time, who was much enamoured of the notion of legacy, described it as my legacy. It was just hard work, and I doubt that it's my legacy at all, because actually the person who's now Director of Studies for the Policy Doctorate, James Coatstake's done a brilliant job. If I had two things that I could point to immediately, I'd say that my role in Nick Pierce becoming my successor and James Coatstake in taking over the Policy Doctorate, they were really important. Oh, I think my personal highlights were working with the team I had, which was just brilliant, and they'll all be at the 10th anniversary, I'm sure, and I shall look forward very much to catching up with them. I'm shocked that it's come about so fast, but also delighted that it's survived and flourished over this period of time. Just to thank the team and those that have followed, so Nick, James, all those that are there now, for being just, I think, terrific in the way they've put their shoulder to the wheel and, in fact, developed and advanced the Institute.
My name is Nick Pearce. I'm a Professor of Public Policy at the University of Bath and the Director of the IPR, and I became the Director of IPR in about to the end of 2015, beginning of 2016. I think the area of research we're probably best known for is on universal basic income, which was one of the first areas that we started to research as an institute, where we had our own research activity, and we've managed to gain a reputation for that work, publish a number of different studies, work with collaborators in universities around Europe, and with activists, civil society organisers and others who are interested in basic income. And we take a particular perspective on it. We look at it politically, we do microsimulation work, we do political economy studies. And for me, the basic income work has been a real pleasure. I'm actually a sort of friendly skeptic of basic income, but for me, doing that work at the Institute has been a way of engaging in some really interesting, important debates and getting a reputation and profile for us. Well, I think what the IPR offers to the university and to the colleagues and academics, students and others across the university is a way of interfacing, if you like, or engaging with public policy, and that's a mix of things. It's about engaging with politicians and policymakers and civil servants. It's about holding debates and events on big public policy questions, and it's about doing public policy research, engaging with the policy dimensions of research activities across the piece. Well, there's no end of things that we need to research. I mean, humanity faces massive challenges, climate change, of course, but also poverty, inequality, renewing and strengthening our democracy. So there's a huge set of public policy issues to research, to teach about, to engage with in wider democratic debate. And so an institute like IPR, which exists to serve the public good in that broadest sense, has got any number of things it can do, and I hope that there's a continued demand for an institute like ours for the next 10 years and beyond, because the research challenges we face, the challenges that we are addressed to, focusing on public policy, are so great that I hope we can play an important role in answering them.
My name is Jane Miller. I'm a Professor Emeritus of Social Policy at the University of Bath, and was involved first in the establishment of IPR and since then as a researcher within IPR. I think having research institutes that cut across the board or work across the board is a really good thing. So it isn't just one disciplinary area or one subject or one group. It really is trying to work with colleagues right across the university. I think there's so much you can learn from colleagues in other disciplines and other areas, and it's so exciting to have that opportunity to work together with people in a range of different approaches, different methodologies, different ways of thinking. So all very exciting, I think. It seems to have come around really quickly. 10 years goes by like nothing. When I stopped being Pro-Vice-Chancellor for Research, which was now 7-8 years ago, I came back into IPR as a researcher, and at that time I had a group of PhD students and a research project with a small team. So what I really enjoyed about working within IPR was a fantastic environment, fantastic professional support, really great people to work with. But it was a really great place to work with colleagues and, you know, be able to build up a little team and work together. So I really enjoyed that aspect of IPR. As I said, when IPR was first set up, I was Pro-Vice Chancellor for Research. So I was, at the time, we put out a call across the university for research institutes. We wanted to set up some institutes that would be multidisciplinary, that would work across the university, that would build on existing strengths, that would have a lot of enthusiasm and support, and a committed team, really, to set up an institute, because it's quite a big thing to do. So IPR was one of the first university-wide research institutes that we set up, as you say now, 10 years ago. Well, I think it's well established, so I hope that it will carry on. I hope that it will continue to really make those links and connections into other areas. One of the things IPR has done really well, I think, is the different programs. So the professional doctorate, the master's program, working with the Department of Social Policy Sciences and other departments in the university. These programs, I think, have really brought some depth into the way we think about policy. So I hope IPR can keep contributing to evidence-based policy and the importance of robust and solid evidence when you're thinking about policy, when you're evaluating policy.
My name's Julie Barnett. I'm Professor of Health Psychology, and when I joined the university in 2013, I was very happy to have the opportunity to get involved in the very early days of the IPR, where Graham Room was absolutely instrumental in getting it underway. And then after that, I worked with Professor Hugh Laura as he was took the IPR to the next stages before Nick arrived. I think the IPR is just such an important part of university life. For me, it was great early on to have involvement in the start of the IPR, but increasingly, as it's grown under the leadership of Nick, I think its place in the university has really become embedded as the very credible and go-to part of the university around developing relationships with policy officials and having access to fantastic events with really high-profile leaders from the world of policy. I think the IPR gives a huge amount of benefit to the university. I know that people across a whole range of faculties have had the opportunity to engage with the IPR, and it has offered so many academics the option of engaging with policymakers, both as people come in under the Policy Fellowship Programme and indeed providing opportunity for academics to go out on secondments, but also just to have access to people within the normal ebb and flow of academic life as through the events and activities that the IPR hold. I really hope that I believe this will happen, that the IPR will go from strength to strength within the university. I know that it looks to extend its work, its area of influence, and I'm hoping that we'll see more and more of the IPR being active in helping academics engage with policymakers in a meaningful and effective ways.